11点，国家地理频道。
这里是福斯国际电视网。您现在收看的是国家地理频道。
September the 11th, 2001. The World Trade Center is under attack. On Liberty Street, in the shadows of the Twin Towers, is the fire station closest, Ten House. Its firefighters are the first on the scene.
There's just blood all over the floor. There are people panicking. There are people that are having a hard time breathing. And I says, let's set up this evacuation line.
Huge chunks of concrete were just hitting my body. And every time another slab of concrete hit me, I just felt ribs breaking.
What I was praying and hoping was, oh God, please, just bring him home.
Using rare archive images, the extraordinary untold story of the firefighters of Ten House is now revealed for the first time. They became New York's most iconic band of brothers, the 9/11 Firehouse. The fire department of New York is one of the biggest in the world. In the 1990s, its firefighters tackled nearly 30,000 fires a year. They were known as New York's bravest and prided themselves on how they rescue people, whatever the cost.
You're the last chance that they have. It's your responsibility to go there and help these people out. That's why firefighters are friendly guys and friendly to each other. We might be the last people we ever see. And it takes a particular personality to go into a burning building.
Attacking the fires needed battalions of ladder and engine companies in firehouses all over the city. By far the closest firehouse to the World Trade Center was on Liberty Street. In case of emergency, the men of Ten House would be first on the scene, where 50,000 people worked. It was a responsibility that drew all who joined them together.
They put me in ladder 10. I show up at the door, introduce myself. The captain says, when you come to find the firehouse, just look for the biggest building in the city. We're right at the bottom of it. I became close with them only because it was a brotherhood. Where did they show up? They showed up at ladder 10, engine 10, Ten House.
The men of Ten House were proud of their work. Yet until the 1993 bombing, they had dealt with only one fire at the World Trade Center in 18 years. So amongst the city's firefighters, working at Ten House was considered a soft touch. John Morabito was Ladder 10's driver.
We were in an area that was secure. Most buildings were made of concrete and steel. They had a lot of fire suppression and sprinkler systems, so we didn't go on a lot of fire calls. So we took a lot of ribbing from other fire departments that we were a slow house, that we weren't really a very busy house. We always had pride in ourselves, so we'd always just say, well, yeah, we'll see you at the big one, we'll catch you at the big one.
At 8:30 on the morning of 9/11, firefighters at Ten House were changing shifts. Teams of 6 for each truck ate breakfast and chatted with their brothers as they handed over. They included probies, probationary firefighters, like newly married Jimmy Brown.
I was a brand new probie, still learning the ropes, but that's what every firefighter lives for, a first due job, where you can put the fire out, especially if you're on the engine. If you have the nozzle, you're actually putting the wet stuff in the red stuff, and that's what you live for.
It was 8:46 a.m. American Airlines Flight 11 was hurtling towards the Twin Towers. The big one, an event that would change the world, was about to begin.
I look up, and you can actually feel the heat from the fireball. And you saw this huge fireball, and then just debris come raining down. And then after that, I ran over to get my gear, because we're getting ready to roll.
Another probie at Ten House that morning was Sean Talon,
I remember turning to Sean Talon, who was a probie at the time, and I said, Sean, stay close to me. You know, I'm not a senior man or anything, but I have a little more experience than you, and we're going to see some really bad stuff today.
On Liberty Street, 10 house companies got ready for action as all firefighters in Lower Manhattan responded.
We all ran downstairs, put on our bunker gear. Myself and Terry Rivera jumped on the back step of ladder 10.
I drove out onto the apron, which is the sidewalk right in front of our fire station, and as soon as I got to the street, I stopped and I looked at the lieutenant, and I said, this is people in the street. This is bodies. And he goes, I know. He goes, we can't help them. He says, let's go to the people we can help. And as I rolled out, I could feel pieces of flesh under my tires of my fire truck.
Lieutenant Greg Atlas was in charge of Engine 10 that morning. Within the first minute of the plane's impact on the North Tower, he was radioing Manhattan Control.
Engine 1 out of Manhattan. Engine 1 out. Engine 1 out, World Trade Center, 1060. Send every available ambulance, everything you got to the World Trade Center now.
1060 was the firefighters' code for a major emergency. Seconds later, at 8:48, Greg Atlas radioed again.
Engine 1 out of Manhattan. Engine 1 out. It appears an airplane crashed into the World Trade Center. Roll every available ambulance you got to this position.
Engine 10 drove round the corner onto West Street as other companies approached the entrance to the North Tower. Nothing could prepare them for what they found.
I was coming right up onto One World Trade Center when a gentleman came out of the lobby, and he was completely engulfed in flames. His skin was dripping like wax. He had no expression on his face. And he stopped right in front of my fire truck, and he just looked at me. And I could see his eyes were black. I slammed on the brakes of the fire truck. We ran over with a fire extinguisher, and we started to spray his body with water to try to cool him down. We put him in a stretcher, and we put him on that first ambulance. They immediately got him off to the hospital.
Got to the entrance, and there was 2 burn victims there, the male and the female. And the first one I came to was a female. She was still alive, albeit she was in agony, because I remember her rolling around, gurgling, and she was burnt from head to toe. I says, all right, the medics will be right behind us. They'll help this person. You have to go do your job. Part of that job was getting past this woman, and the only way past her was to step over her. And it took everything I had to physically step over her and not help her.
As the company of Engine 10 waited for orders in the lobby of the North Tower, Greg Atlas can be seen here at the command post. His wife, Joanne, was at a coffee shop near their home in upstate New York.
I heard a woman say, we have to keep praying. And I said, is everything all right? And she said to me, plane hit the Trade Center. And you kind of feel everything drain out of you. And all I could think, oh my God, Greg is down there. You know, where is he?
The horror that confronted the 10 house firefighters had only just begun. In their race to save lives, some would be only moments from death. At 9:02 a.m., a second hijacked plane powered towards the World Trade Center. New Yorkers had never witnessed such an attack. Yet these terrible moments of death galvanized those whose job it was to save lives. Wherever they were, hundreds of New York's off-duty firefighters dropped what they were doing and raced to their firehouses. Those in Ten House just had to head for the blazing towers. The huge pall of smoke they made left the city's firefighters in no doubt he was the big one. But for the Ten House brothers, this was personal.
As they're driving on the bridge, I could see clearly now that the two towers have been struck and picking up speed, and I'm doing about 60, 70 miles an hour, and I look behind me, I got all police cars and emergency vehicles all following me too. I'm leading the parade here.
Jeez, I was there so fast, my car was smoking because it wouldn't go any faster than it was going. And the only people going in the direction I was going in were all the firemen and cops. And I could see the smoke in the buildings. I'm like, oh God, this is worse than I thought it was.
125 years ago, the world was smaller than today. We didn't know about as many stars, as many pyramids, as many mammoths. Let's celebrate the 125th birthday of National Geographic with 125 hours of breathtaking television to continue making our world bigger and greater together.
国家地理125周年巨献，每星期五晚上10点，只在国家地理频道。
世上最珍贵的是什么？梦想、时间，还是梦寐以求的名车？这些是最珍贵的吗？真正珍贵的是知己、朋友、家人，那些每天陪伴你的人，才是最珍贵的。永远相伴，金门高粱酒。
谢谢你陪伴我们走过30年，特别推出小麦克，只要30元。
小姐，我要买手机。
这些是最热门的旗舰机皇，你买一支，全台屏保送你。
送那么好，那怎么好意思？
再送你通话分钟数，让你随时 call。
哦，姐姐。
再送你网络购物金。
你也对他太好了吧？
哦，是台湾大哥大，对大家都很好。大小双赢 Part 2，买机皇送平板，再送2500分钟网内通话，特定客户吸码，老客户再享免预缴。
欢迎光临买购，我们给你贴心服务，专业维修。
阿翔，这提去行。
阿爸常说，事业经营
一定要有好朋友、好信用。
幸好有阳信银行，家业才能世代传承，财富才能逐步累积。Sunny Bank 阳信银行。
谢谢你陪伴我们走过30年，特别推出小麦克，只要30元。
人生不是过得怎样，而是懂得怎样去过。轩尼诗原创 XO， 愈欣赏愈懂欣赏。
KD 木皮板，世界级的木皮涂装技术，取得绿箭牌标章，健康无毒，是装潢橱柜的名牌衣服。装潢设计前，请先选择 KD 木皮板。
刷卡一克值千金，嘿嘿。
千金好刷，我早知道。现在申办渣打信用卡，刷2笔累积满千，就送1000元刷卡金，还可贴享2%到15%现金回馈。渣打银行。
装潢设计前，请先选择 KD 木皮板。Make Driving Fun， 日本原装进口 ，Nissan Rogue 全新上市。
在我们的脚底之下，深埋着许多故事，许多被遗忘的历史。
现在，我们将派出乔治王与班主双搭档，深掘出地底下的另一个世界。跟着寻宝猎人的脚步，透过这些历尽风霜的遗物，一起拼凑消失的历史。绝地寻宝猎人，每星期4晚上10点，国家地理频道。
9:10 a.m. Both 10-house trucks remain where they were left, most of their firefighters now climbing the North Tower. The role of Engine 10 is to get water up to the 93rd floor where the fire was raging. It is pumped from a hydrant, and the firefighters' mission is to connect their hoses to a network of standpipes. Meanwhile, the off-duty 10-house firefighters were heading for Liberty Street at the very foot of the South Tower. Here, in front of their firehouse, awaited a scene of unimaginable horror.
I'm able to park my vehicle, and I start running up Liberty Street. I could start seeing there's body parts all in the street. And I cut down, I want to get into the firehouse, and as I'm running, I'm trying to be careful where I'm stepping, because the road is littered, like with this. And I just get about into the back of the firehouse, and I go up to where my helmet, coat, and boots are all still on the rack right now.
As brother firefighters arrive at 10 House, they are met by frightened civilians taking shelter with security personnel. A young probie is overawed at how they could rescue people above the fire. But for Lieutenant Joe Torillo, the situation is very clear.
I was standing outside. It's obvious that everybody's going to die above that point of impact. We can't get them and they can't get down. So for the first time in your career, you don't even make an effort to try to save somebody. It's not happening. You really have to concentrate on evacuating as many people as you can and assisting the injured.
Nonetheless, many 10 House brothers set off fully prepared to tackle the infernos raging in each tower. As they carried their heavy gear along Liberty Street, John Morabito took the lead in organizing the mass evacuation of office workers. He is seen here, walking behind Chief Pfeiffer.
While I'm in the lobby, I'm going to start to try to evacuate people, because now there's hundreds of people coming down the stairs. And I says, let's set up this evacuation line. Let's send you down towards the subway, because going out to the street is unsafe. There is debris falling, there are people jumping, and if we send you to the subway, you should be safe on the ground. And as they're coming down the stairs, I'm standing right by this door, and I'm pushing them through the door, and I'm sending them down towards the subway line. There are people that are having a hard time breathing, so I was grabbing civilians and I was saying, get that woman under the arms and get her out of here. Yes, sir. They picked the woman up. They escorted her out of the building. I would say probably close to 3,000 or 4,000 people came down past my location, and they were coming in droves, and they were bleeding, and they were burnt, and they were panicking, and they were screaming, but they were following our instructions, and they were evacuating the building.
By 9:40 a.m., the evacuation from the North Tower had been going on for just over an hour. Although thousands of people had been helped to escape the burning building, hundreds were still slowly making their way down the stairs. Among them was Jean Potter.
When we got to about the 10th, 9th, 8th floor, I felt a sense of urgency, and people were getting tired, obviously, and I started yelling at people to move it. Let's go, move it, and that is very out of character for me. And I just felt that the clock was ticking. We had to get out of here.
Jean was married to 10 House firefighter Dan Potter. She knew Dan was officially off duty, but she also knew her husband would feel duty-bound to be there.
One of the last people to come down the stairs is Jean Potter, and she came up to me. She says, "Is Danny Potter working? Is he working today?" I said, "No." I said, "Danny's okay." I said, "He's fine. He's not working. He's fine." I said, "But you need to keep moving." I said, "We have to get you out of here." I said, "I don't know what else is going to happen."
I wanted to go to 10 House, and he said, "Absolutely not. You cannot go to the firehouse," because I figured Dan would be there or he would go there, and that was the best place for me to go. And he said, "You cannot go there."
In that moment, John saved Jean's life. If she had gone in the opposite direction, she would almost certainly have died. The time was 9:55. Evacuees continue to stream out from the towers. Amongst them is Jean Potter.
I came out. I sensed burning debris all around me. I looked at my watch. It was 9:55 a.m. I proceeded to walk. There was a woman in front of me that stumbled, and I gently helped her regain her footing. And I ran into one of our doormen. And I said, "Richard, what happened?" He said, "We've been hit. We were under attack." I proceeded to walk down the rest of the block when all of a sudden I hear rumbling. And it was horrible.
Just got run out of the firehouse. A firefighter standing in the door sticks his arm out and he clotheslines me, catches me right underneath the neck. And he looks up, he goes, "Holy cow, here it comes." And with that, I looked up real quickly, and I could see the South Tower. I could see it just starting to twist, and it start to come down.
I'm running, and I could see the South Bridge, and I'm saying, if I could run fast enough and make it underneath that bridge, maybe they'll find and identify my body. And as I'm running, I could feel wind pressure on the back of my neck, and you could hear boom, 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 boom.
I was picked up in a whirl of wind, and this hot ash was hitting me in the face and this debris, and I was spun around off the ground. I landed up against the wall, and I crawled up and I said, "God, please, God, just save me. Just don't let me die."
Huge chunks of concrete were just hitting my body, and every time another slab of concrete hit me, I just felt ribs break. Another slab, another slab, another slab.
Now here it comes, all the debris and the rocks being channeled through the entranceway of the firehouse. It's almost like a piston pushing down and then pushing all this stuff, all this debris. Then I just fall back.
I was waiting for that one thing that was going to hit me, and I said, maybe I could take it. Maybe I'm strong enough that I could withstand the shot. And it didn't happen. 11 seconds later, I was alive.
The 10-house firefighters in the stairwells of the North Tower were unable to see anything of the collapsing building.
We felt this unbelievable rumble, and the North Tower just started shaking violently back and forth, so much so that I had to just brace myself up against the wall in the stairwell, and immediately the lights kicked off, the emergency lights kicked on, and the rumbling was just so loud and so violent, and we all looked at each other, and thankfully we were on the same page. From my company, we said, we got to get the hell out of here. So we decided, as a company, we were going to evacuate.
10-house firefighters racing through the streets to join their colleagues were enveloped by a vast, acrid dust cloud.
And when the dust came over, it was hot. It was hot and gritty. It was on the back of my neck, and there was no way of breathing. I had my face inside my shirt, couldn't breathe. Every time you rub your face, the glass and the grit would make you bleed.
Thousands of civilians and evacuees were caught in the dust-filled streets around the World Trade Center. Those nearer the collapsed building suffered disorientation and breathing problems.
Which way to go?
Jean Potter was near Broadway.
I was walking in gray falling snow. It was so silent. I was wet from being in the concourse, and then this gray snow was falling on me. And I just asked, where are the towers? Are the towers behind me? I was very disoriented. And someone said yes, and I just proceeded to walk.
As Jean wandered through the dust cloud, her husband, Dan Potter, feared she was still in the North Tower.
Come over here! Yeah!
Mel Hazley, the fire marshal. And I said, "Mel, it's me, Dan." And he looked, he goes, "Danny." I said, "Oh my God, Danny, are you okay?" I said, "I'm okay." I said, "Mel," I said, "but Jean," I said, "Jean's on the 81st floor. I think she's got to be up on the roof of the North Tower." And he's looking, he's going, he's like, "Oh, this ain't good. This is not going to be good."
As the minutes slipped away, time was running out for anyone who remained in the doomed building. The North Tower, was now a ticking time bomb. The collapse of its twin had shown that it could only endure the intense heat of the fires for so long. Fire chiefs in the North Tower had ordered a mayday within 2 minutes of the South Tower's collapse. Mayday means one thing to firefighters: get out of the building. But the radioed messages were only received by some of the firefighters scattered up and down the vast edifice.
They had to run up a couple of flights for myself and a couple of other firefighters to pull us down and say a mayday was given. And we insisted that we were going to go with our company that were waiting for us just a couple of floors above, but a mayday was given, so we made our way down.
Other fire companies were doing different things. Some were standing fast, some were taking a rest, some were continuing up.
The enormous pile of rubble from the collapsed building filled the ground floors of the North Tower with thick black dust. John Morabito had heard no mayday as he searched for a way out.
I'm wandering around this darkness, continuing to the left, trying to get out of the building, and on the right side of me, I see a 10-foot by 10-foot patch of light gray in this blackness. I said, that's a window. I'm going to go out that way.
It was 10:15 a.m. Fire had been raging on the stricken floors for over 90 minutes. Many firefighters still did not know the South Tower had collapsed. Ladder 10's Lieutenant Stephen Harrell and Proby Sean Talon were somewhere between the 30th and 40th floors. So too was seasoned firefighter Jeff Olson.
There was no doubt in my mind that he was in there. His company is obviously first due to the World Trade Center. So when the first tower came down, I thought to myself, oh, this is going to be bad. Somebody is going to get hurt. I have these babies. I better take a shower and get dressed, because I know if something happens to him, they're going to send a car to come and pick me up.
I have no problem sacrificing myself for someone else. It's my job.
Our main mission is to pick up that injured person, no matter how dangerous it may be.
Thick or thin, hell or high water, you're able to help the person that can't be helped.
We are able to save somebody's life. It's how great a feeling.
全新系列《战地救援英雄》，每星期三晚上10点，国家地理频道。历经6个月的严寒，翻越重重山巅，一切都是为了捕捉这稀世的完美。同样的坚持与追求，穿越5000公里，寻找万中无一的项目，只为酿造点滴非凡富裕。格兰杰源自不必要的坚持。You need water. You need food. You need to be active. You need New Evo for an active tomorrow. 活力生活，扭力活。
You're my reason why. You showed me how to dream and what I could believe in.
学会选择最好的团队，打造更好的未来，传承价值，富有未来。中国信托新一代财富管理。
We are family.
现在使用中国信托网络银行或自动提款机就可以抽大奖哦。
You need water. You need food. You need to be active. You need New Evo for an active tomorrow. 活力生活，扭力活。